Welcome back to Battleground, Florida. Now there's more to discuss about Election Day, and we are joined by Victor DiMaio, president of the Hillsborough Hispanic Democratic Caucus. We are also joined by State Committee Man Tom Gaitens with the Hillsborough GOP. So what is a key takeaway from election night when it comes to Florida's races and specifically Tampa Bay? You go first.
It's a mixed bag. I mean, the Republicans did well. But the Democrats, for example, in the local races here in Hillsborough County, they retained all the constitutional officers with the exception of one. I know the governor put an arrow or mark on all of our school board races, and he lost all of them. All the school board races that were Democrats stayed Democrats. So the Democrats have a super majority on the school board. And ironically, the tax for schools passed with almost 60% of the vote, which shocked myself. Because I was for the CIT tax, and I knew the other tax on property would be a lot tougher, but both those taxes passed. So, we had and on the Republican side, I think their incumbents, stayed pretty solid. The Republican district stayed Republican. Our Democrats in the House, Representative Susan Valdez and Representative Dee Hart stayed in their seats. And like I say, Bob Henriquez.
But I saw that Ashley Brundage lost her race against Representative Karen Gonzalez Pittman. Why do you think that is? Because I was told that that's a district that leans slightly deep.
It could be, but the Republicans have been very successful in keeping it. I mean,
it's Big Tenism. So one of the things Trump has ushered in is a broader and wider tent within the Republican Party, and Karen's district is a perfect example. So Karen is a moderate conservative Republican. So she appeals to both the rock solid conservative and the moderate, the swing voter, and that's why I think her numbers were about 57-58%. She's representative of this big tent that's happened in the Republican Party, and that's why we went from when DeSantis was elected, 300,000 aggregate votes down against the Democrats to now 1,055,000 around the state. It's because our candidates are not cookie cutter. They're not all just. We're not just putting them out on the same script. We allow them to be themselves, and based on the district, they get to vote the way they want to vote, and it's shown. That's why we did so well. Look, County Commission, Chris Bowles' race is a perfect example. Came into the late race because of some issues of moving around some candidates, and the success of that race is really illustrative of how the county we were down 76,000 votes in Hillsborough County. We're down 5,000 against the Democrats. But that reality is the momentum that's been shifting. We've become a purple county. And so now it becomes enthusiasm. And this race, the end turned out to be the enthusiasm. If you look at the aggregate vote on the ground in Hillsborough County with respect to output of both parties, we performed about 10,000 higher than the Democrats. We have to do a better job with the NPAs, but we did a really good job on the ground turning out, and surprisingly, more so than the Democrats, which usually they've created the manual on how to get out the vote, and it didn't happen this time.
Yeah, no, he's right. I mean, the enthusiasm, that's my key to winning. I mean, you look at the histories of when the Democrats have won, we've had inspiring leaders like Barack Obama, who's a dynamic speaker, Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter. You can go back to all the presidential races, and the enthusiasm level he's at 100% correct, was much higher on the Republican side. Just a few years ago, we had an 80,000 vote edge in Hillsborough County registration, and we're down to a few thousand now. So that's changed. Even we had 1 million votes edge in Florida, and now the million shifted to Republican, and that's for a lot of different reasons.
Mainly the COVID effect.
The COVID effect had a lot to do with it.
Ron DeSantis governed better than the Northeast blue governors and brought a lot of people to Florida. And that migration, we were worried. I think both you were excited, we were worried. But it turned out that the people were migrating out of those states to the free state of Florida because Ron DeSantis quickly reversed pivot on COVID and said, we're not going to play this game. And that created an atmosphere that brought people to the state. And Hillsborough County is turned purple because of his decision-making during COVID, and it's just continued forward.
And I do want to talk about Amendments 3 and 4 because Democrats supported Amendments 3 and 4. Most Republicans were against both. So what do you guys think is next when it comes to recreational marijuana and expanding abortion access in Florida?
Well, that's not entirely true because Joe Gruters, who's a former head of the Republican Party in Florida, supported the pot amendment and was very outspoken. He spoke at Tiger Bay right here in Tampa about it. And you had Donald Trump doing a commercial for promoting it as well. But those polled at 60%, but there was a flip of the coin whether it was going to, and they actually got 57%. We have that higher threshold here in Florida where you got to get 60% to be a constitutional member. So they got a lot. A lot of Republican women I spoke with voted for Trump and voted for both the pot and the right to choose amendment. When it came to abortion. So
do you guys think Tallahassee should act?
Well, Tallahassee did.
Well,
so on the first level, yes. The tour de force was, both those amendments started about 56%. We know that from the beginning. And it did. It edged up to almost passing. And then the governor's efforts around the state pulled that number back down to 56, 57. And that's the reality on the ground. Was his tour de force was what changed that. But Tallahassee does need to act. Tallahassee does need to, because both of these amendments are going to come back. $140 million spent, an enormous amount of money. More than twice than any other state spent on the recreational marijuana. But what we have to realize, this is not a one and done. So we have to address these issues. The state legislature has a lot of responsibility. We were just talking about this in the green room, basically that with power comes responsibility. The people of the state spoke. How they manage that is going to be really important for the next 2 years.
Yeah, because the bottom line is, I always said in the green room, and you as well before we went on the air, I said, every 2 years we have an election, and the pendulum always swings back and forth. 1 year the Democrats win the president. Look, 2 cycles ago they couldn't, they demonized Hillary Clinton, and they took a chance on Trump because he had the economic message. 4 years later, they couldn't wait to get rid of Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden came in. 4 years after that, they couldn't wait to get rid of. So and then if you think about it, we have a lame duck in the governor. He's only got 2 years left. That's a lame duck. You might see some pushback from Republicans who feel like they're being pushed too hard. That's what he's talking about, being more responsible, because in politics, we have the middle. There's people in the middle. They're MPAs, they're independents. Those are the people that decide elections. If he runs as a Republican, he'll get 40%. I'll get 40% as a Democrat. But there's that 10% in the middle that makes a difference in elections. So Trump goes in as a lame duck, too. He's got 4 years. That's it. He doesn't get another 8. So you basically have 2 big Republican powerhouses in the president and the governor, who are basically lame ducks, and there are already people looking at who's going to replace them as well.
And then I'm definitely going to invite both of you back here because you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. And coming up, my final thoughts in Ty's Take. Battleground Florida continues in just a moment.